Welcome again to Energy Audit. My name is Dom, and we are now attempt to do task 4, which is investment grade energy audit. To complete the investment grade audit report, you need to look at the template that I have done here. And you will need to research and apply energy reduction techniques from as simple as replacing energy inefficient light bulbs to more efficient ones, and of course to move on to more costly investments such as the installation of solar panels. Now, areas to be affected by these changes are the office equipment, ICT infrastructure devices, the warehouse equipment, lighting, water heating, air conditioning, and so on. You need to apply all of these to the targeted ICT infrastructure that you are doing the energy audit for. Well, let's go and get started, and let's have a look what we have done into our template here. Notice that it is less descriptive than the first one. The calculation made are not shown. They are just given for the current annual CO2 devices in ton. Made this calculation with the carbon neutral calculator, and this calculation was made on a business proposal on managing lighting usage. And the descriptions of this investment was that the Green Strategy Initiative, it was called, replacing the 500 incandescent light bulbs with the compact fluorescent bulb investments. So this is the current annual CO2 emissions by lighting up 500 incandescent bulbs, and this is the after the investment replacing them with more efficient lighting devices. We're now using 185.71 tons, which it is now a savings of 278.57 tons of CO2 emissions. Now, all these things that I made here, it needs to be further qualified, and this is what I'm going to do now. Remember that you got a list, is in point number 4 here, and describe all calculations made and the formula employed to make these calculations. Now, the formula, it's not described into this template, unlike what we have done for the previous calculations made for the ICT walkthrough energy audit and the detailed energy audit. As you can see, we have shown you the calculation one by one until we reached. Now you need to show all your calculations separately. Now, don't throw numbers out of the hat and you just copy and paste into your assignment this without showing me how you made the calculations. And now I'm going to do the calculation for you, and I'm going to show you how did I came up with these figures. Right, so first of all, let's have a look what we have done. We have looked at the individual operational sites. These sites are all the same. So to light up all this ICT infrastructure, the office equipment, the warehouse, and all the things, all the lights we have seen, we have counted them up, and they were using 500 of these incandescent lights. So now what we did, we investigated, and we found out that through our research that we could replace these 500 incandescent globes with the more efficient ones, and these are the GE Energy Smart CFL globes. Now, these ones here, of course, if you do a cost on these ones as opposed to the previous one, the investment, it is actually considerable, because for every 500 the cost now will multiply by 10, whereas the old globes, they were $1 each. These ones are $10 each, so they're 10 times more. However, then they last much longer, about 3 to 4 times longer than the globe one. So therefore the cost comparison by using this will be much greater, and this is the issue with ICT sustainability. By reducing the energy consumption, you actually need to make investment. That's why this is called investment grade, right, energy audit, where we invest in new technologies, replacing devices, make things more efficient, so therefore we will reduce our energy cost. So these globes, they are only 40 watts, so every time, for every hour we turn them on, they only consume 40 watts, as opposed to 100 with the current globes. So having now said that, let's move on to the calculations that we need to do. So this is how it was calculated. First of all, the current globes, they use 100 watts for every hour which they are turned on. Now, to make things simple here, we have calculated by having these lights on 24 hours, and so we calculate 100 by 24 hours. So for each one during the day, they are 2,400 watts. However, we want the annual emission, so therefore we need to calculate the consumption over a year, which is 365 days, last time I counted. That will make the 876,000 watts for each of these ones. Alright, so now we want the cost in kilowatts, so we divided this by 1000, because there are 1000 watts in 1 kilowatts, and it comes up to 876 kilowatts each one. We now need to multiply by 500, because we got 500 of these globes, and it comes up to 438,000 kilowatts. Now we need to calculate the current annual emissions, and this is the amount of kilowatts, so we're gonna bring up the carbon neutral calculator. So we will go and launch the carbon neutral calculator. Remember, you need to start afresh every time you use this. I'll just put the calculator aside, and I'll make it bigger so that you guys can see. Remember, we need to calculate the energy. You need to tell the state in which you are in. I live in New South Wales. You may live in another state, so we'll give you a different result. The energy usage is of 438,000 kilowatts. Now we add to the total, and as you can see, make sure that you get number 1 each time you run this calculator to have the calculation for the things that you are actually calculating. Otherwise, you keep on adding up each second time and will add a total. So it's 464.28 tons of CO2 emissions, as you can see in here. So now let's go and into our spreadsheet, and as you can see, it's 464. Well, now we need to do the same thing for the new replacing this. So what we're going to do now, we're going to calculate an investment. So we know that 500, all right, multiplied at $10 each is 50,000. So we need to pay 50,000 just to buy them. There will be the cost of electricians to replace them. But we don't want to just calculate the investment. We want to calculate the CO2 emissions. So what we need to do is the same thing as we've done before. So we grab our calculator, we clear all the previous calculations, and we now, the new ones, they are 40 watts multiplied by 24 hours a day, so they will consume 460 watts per day each one. We want the annual value, and we multiply by 365 days, and then this result we divided by 1000 because we want the value in kilowatts, which is 350.4. But now we need to multiply this by 500 because we got 500 units, and it comes up with this figure, 175,200 kilowatts. Now we got to bring back the carbon neutral calculator. As you can see, I've done all afresh so that I only want a single value, not an accumulated value. And again, I have to select energy, and I will select the state in which I'm in, and I have to enter the value, which was 175,200 kilowatts, and I'll add to the total, and I will have the value of 185.71 tons. So, which is the value that I have already pre-recorded in here. Well, now we want the difference. How much CO2 emissions have we saved to put into the atmosphere? So we will have to do 464.28 minus the new value of 185.71 tons. 300 and I've done 464.28. That's where the problem is. 464.28 minus 185.71, which will equal to 282.57. And my calculation there is just a little bit off. However, there is a savings of 280 tons of CO2 emission. So having done that, you guys, you will continue with all the other ways on which you want to calculate the investment grade energy audit. Like in my example here, then I have done the managing transport resources. Is the Green Strategy Initiative with replacing the current fleet of 90 petrol-powered Holden Commodores with 90 LPG-powered Ford Falcons. Well, now both ones, they are going to be out of production very soon in Australia, so therefore you will have to find something else. But how did you calculate all of this? Well, we made all these calculations using the carbon neutral calculator. Now, I'll just show you how to use it, and then you will have to show all your calculations for all of the things that you want to do investment on it. In our example, as I showed you earlier, we are managing transport resources, and we are replacing 90 petrol-powered Holden Commodores with 90 LPG-powered Ford Falcons. So let's see the difference in between the CO2 emission for both. So we going into vehicle and fuel usage in the calculator. We will select, say, petrol 90 E10, which most corporations they use the E10, and with 10% ethanol, we go and estimate this by kilometers. You can do with by fuel, amount of fuel, or by fuel cost. So the average car will do, say, about 30,000 kilometers per year, right? 30,000 kilometers, and with the average of 11.4 liters per 100 kilometers, it calculated. But have a look at the emission. The emission is 7,648 tons of CO2. So that's how this was reported in here. This is for a single car, while it here was done for 90 cars, right? So as you can see it there. So now, that's by using, we have used now for each car, we have emitted into the atmosphere for each car 7,648 tons. Now we're going to do the difference of these using LPG. Okay, to do this, we will need to reset the calculator, otherwise we will get additional on top of that. So I'm going to launch the calculator, and I'm going to go into motor vehicles again, and I'm going to now select different fuel, which is LPG, and I'm going to do again into kilometers, and then I'm going to put the same distance, which is 30,000 kilometers, and let it calculate. It's 5,869. So as we can see, it's about 2 tons less per year. So what you do then, you multiply this of course by 90 cars, and the sums that I have got in here for when this calculation was made, there was a savings for 90 cars of 508 tons of CO2 emissions. So you guys have to make the whole calculations, and you have to show the all calculations made. You can do it in either by expanding and putting more columns in the spreadsheet, or by doing it on describing them separately from the spreadsheet itself. Well, the carbon neutral calculator is as I said earlier, you can also do air travel, and the air travel you can do your departure from your departure airport, if there is any stopovers to the let's say we will do say Sydney say that's Sydney, say Bankston Airport, to Melbourne Tal Essendon, or Melbourne Internet. Oh, that's Melbourne. Melbourne of say International Australia, which is MEL. Okay, and it calculates you the distance. It's you actually using more from, if you go to premium economy, business, or business class. I'm going to do, let's say, from business class, and then you will I didn't reset the calculator. As you can see, I already got 50 in there. So we add it's one flight, 0.50. Oh no, it's actually, I didn't have to reset it. Done in this case, it done 52 tons of CO2 emission. Okay, so and if you go in there and you change from business to economy, we will add to the total, and now we got 2 flights. We got 1.05 tons estimate. Remember, all this, it's always best to reset. Unfortunately, that's the drawback with this one. You will have to close all your tabs in your Internet Explorer, and then you will have to relaunch it again. So I'll do this one more time for you, and we do on air travel. Before we have done it in we have said from Sydney from Sydney Bankstown to Melbourne International Airport, and 1 passenger. This time we have done 7 number of kilometers, and we added to the total, and you have a look. It is I'm not sure if it's the same or a little bit less, but in any case, you need to show all your calculations, the amount of kilometers you travel, how many trips you are calculating. Let's have a look in here, where we have done managing executive air travel. As part of the green strategy policy, replace business class with economy class, promote video conferencing as opposed to air travel. So now, what in this initiative we have done, we have found out that just 1 trip between Sydney and Melbourne is about 5 tons of tons of emission. That's for 1. But if we do video conferencing, we will need to invest in a video conferencing, or we need to open up the ports to run Skype sessions, or we use other third-party applications such as WebEx. In any case, by replacing air travel with the teleconferencing, we have saved an enormous amount of CO2 emissions. Okay, so it's about according to these calculations here, it is about half a ton of CO2 emission. So guys, I hope that that this is clear to you, and you will need to do an investment grade energy audit by following the template that I've given you. And remember, you need to list and describe all calculations made, and showing the formula that you have employed and all your rationale for moving, like it was said, from air travel to to video conferencing and so on. Of course, just remember that by moving there is the cost of deploying video conferencing. Right. One more thing that perhaps it can be done, it is to deploy a VPN, visual private networking, on the network, and allow some employees that they can to work from home, so they don't have to travel to work, and therefore that will also count as reduction in CO2 emissions. And with this, we move to the section 5, the monitoring plan. Well, if you have made it thus far, you're nearly finished the monitoring plan. This is some reading material which you may have to go through. If those of you are using the case study, you can refer to the case study. However, we now look at the monitoring plan. This is an ongoing activity undertaken for continuous improvement in sustainability. Monitoring strategies and action plans need to be continually monitored to account for any internal or external developments. This will position the company to be ready to address and make essential changes to the action plan when environmental factors change. The monitoring plan has three main objectives. Number one, it is to assess the mechanics used to protect the safety of the equipment and the people operating it. And two, assess the green policy's activities in achieving targeted performance levels. And three, the corrective actions to ensure performance level to be achieved. So as you can see, these 3 points are very important in the monitoring plan. Now, how to complete the monitoring plan? Well, to complete the monitoring plan, you need to you observe the template below, and you will need to develop the monitoring activities that involves the company's activities areas. Now, you look at the infrastructure that you are working on, your targeted ICT infrastructure, the company that you are doing the energy audit for, and then you state, as shown in the template below, the monitoring activities, its descriptions and action plan. Now, I'm just put here 2 examples to enlighten your experience, so that you will quickly address this issue. Your first monitoring activity, it would be monitor employees by keeping them engaged. What is the description of this? So now notice, in my monitoring plan I haven't written a lot of information, because we want to go just straight to the point. We don't want a lot of jabba, all right? That will only be confusing the reader. All we want is shown into all this assessment is to go straight to the point. All right? So employees are to be kept informed and encouraged to provide feedback. Now that's the description for the monitor employees, keeping them engaged. Why would you want to keep your employees engaged? Because they have a lot to contribute. They use the equipment. All right? they use the equipment, they become aware of all the sustainability activities that management is trying to push forward in order to improve the image of the corporation, to show that they care for the environment, they don't pollute the environment, that everything that they do is to reduce any pollution that they are causing, right? So the employees can contribute, but also the employees need to be monitored so that they do the right thing, so that they will in fact follow the directives that they are provided with to comply with sustainability. So now you need to have an action plan in order to make this happen. And the action plan is to provide suggestion boxes in key areas such as the dining room. You provide them a piece of paper with a pencil, and you encourage them to actually give you feedback. Then the employees are to complete a questionnaire once a year to evaluate how key issues are seen from their point of view. So that's how you keep them engaged, right? And one, you gave them a suggestion, but the other one that you got it in here, you tell them. You got a suggestion and you got an action plan and you impose them, right, to fill up the questionnaire, right? Always nicely. However, this is a must. This is an encouragement. So next is the monitoring activity. We monitor employees' green skills with mandatory trainings and updates. So one thing is to tell them, tell me what you think. One thing is to ask their feedback, but another thing is to train them. You know, these people, your employees, right? You need to take care of them and you need to help them to assist you. And it's part of this facilitation, and it's part also for accreditation. If your corporation is ISO 9000 accredited or other accreditations, you will need to document all of this. You will need to show the steps that you are doing to monitor your employees' green skills. So what is the description of this? Is you train users on the benefit derived by developing green skills, such as turning off the lights when you are going home and so on, right? But what is the action plan to make this happen? To make this happen, you develop an online training course and you post it on the company intranet, and then you mandate compulsory attendance. So he says, look, this is the green skills training that you need to do. It's mandatory once a year, right? So once a year they need to do it, right? So again, the action plan consists of a monitor activity, such as monitor employees by keeping them engaged, a description of the activity or the monitoring activity, and next is an action plan to ensure that we are on target. Okay, so then as you can see, I gave you two examples, and then you gotta keep on doing yours. So then of course you know what the bibliography looks like, and you need to do it. And once you have done it, upload your assignment so that it can be assessed by your teacher. And my name is Dom, and I'll complete this video, and we will see you into the next one. Bye for now.